Hello, everyone. Welcome to Growth Room Podcast. Here we have honest conversations about growth and becoming. So, what if moving to a new city doesn't automatically change your life? And what if the opportunity you are chasing isn't where you think it is? Today, I'm joined by Merry Korn, who went from being fired to building a company that employed over 1,300 people across 30 states. Wow. I really want to hear the story. So, Mary, welcome to Growth Room Podcast.
Thank you. And how would you like me to refer to you?
Favor?
Favor?
Yeah.
Okay, so Favor, I'll begin my story, but let's keep this conversational and ask me any questions that you have.
Okay. Okay. Now, so my first question goes like this. So, why do so many young professionals believe relocating will automatically create a better opportunity for them? Why is it always like that?
I just want to make sure I understand your question correctly. Why do people, especially young people who move, they relocate, they think they'll have better job opportunities? Is
Yeah.
that your question?
Yes. It's like that.
Okay. Um, well, there is always hope that if you move, that ideally you move to an area where there will be more jobs. So I think that people relocate always with the hope, because hope runs eternal, and people always hope that if they move, that opportunities will be much more abundant than where they are.
Hmm. So, but is it always like, does it always happen the way we perceive it? Do people who relocate end up making it all the time?
No, I mean, it really depends. I mean, the most important thing, favor going in the, the most important thing is having a skill set that the market you move to needs. So in United States, there's Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley is where tech jobs are abundant. So if you have a technical skill, that's a good place to be. And likewise, if you move to Washington, D.C., if you have an interest in nonprofits or are politically inclined and have the skill sets, that's a good place to be. So, in answer to your question, you should relocate where there are types of jobs that you're attracted to.
Okay. So, from what you're saying now, if I am to relocate, I should go to somewhere that the opportunities I'm looking for is right there. Now, that brings me to ask, from your experience, when does it actually make sense to relocate, and when doesn't it?
It makes sense if ideally before you move, you do research. And thank God for Claude and ChatGPT. One thing you could absolutely do is use AI to pull up the types and number of jobs in the area, and only relocate once you make the deep research on, wow, if I move here, these are the types of jobs that I might qualify for.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for that insight. So, what emotional challenges that comes with starting over in a new city? So now I'm going to use myself as an example. Over time, I I tend to feel the urge to relocate because I felt like where I am is not going to be beneficial. Not like it's bad, but I just feel like I need a new space. And sometimes when you don't relocate, people tend to see you as somebody who is not seeking growth oftentimes. And also sometimes the urge to relocate is not even necessarily because of the job, but because my friends are doing it, so definitely let me relocate. So what are the emotional challenges that comes with starting over?
Oh, it's very lonely. If you move by yourself, it's very common to feel very isolated and untethered, especially if you don't have a job. And favor, uh, not only is it important to look at the job market, but we're not isolated human beings. And if you decide to move, it's really important to research what groups do you want to be a part of so you feel part of the community. And does that make sense?
Hmm. Yeah,
It can be very lonely.
I can see. So how do you go, like, how do you handle the loneliness and just adjust?
One way to handle it is to find out if you belong to a church, if there's a church like the one you belong to where you're moving, or if you have certain interests, like if you have an interest in bike riding or an interest in exercise. It's so important that with that relocation, you join communities where you feel like you are around people that are your people. So it could be of your religion, of your faith, communities that do work very similar to the work you want to do. But favor, I think ideally you move to a place where you have family or friends or you know someone. That to go any place without knowing someone is very lonely.
Yeah. So we're saying, let's say now I'm in Nigeria, and then I feel like, oh, I want to go to the United States, because I feel like there are better opportunities there. So I don't know anyone in the UK. So does it automatically mean I'm going to be entirely lonely to ride there?
Favor, I would say wherever you move, I would find out where the community of people from Nigeria live, so that at least you're surrounded by people who speak your language and are of your culture. And I'm sure there's very different cultures within Nigeria,
Yeah.
but it's really important that you connect to your quote unquote to your people,
Hmm.
because you can't do this alone. It could be a very lonely experience. You have to find your community.
Hmm. True. So thank you so much for that. So that brings us to the next question. What financial mistakes do people often make when relocating for work, and what should someone consider before making that decision?
I think there's a host of things. Kind of some of the things we already talked about is number one, if you relocate, uh, find out what the job market is, find out what the job availability is, find out what the housing situation is. Where are you going to live? And ideally, you would find housing with people that you have some common interest with, and find out where the community is that you want to be a part of. So it's so important to well research making these big life decisions, especially because you're not going to have family and you're not going to have friends to start with.
Hmm. I get now. I get now. Thank you so much for that insight. Can you hear me? Okay. Now you were fired and had to rebuild. How did that moment shift how you see career decisions?
Well, I didn't really want to start a business. I thought what I wanted was a job. And now, with the wisdom of hindsight, I realized I really didn't want a job, that I really wanted my own business because I got very tired of working for people who I didn't respect. And I wanted I just always yearned to own my own business. It was a deep inside feeling of I'm an entrepreneur and I should run my business. But in answer to your question, I could not find a job. And as I was a single mother, and when I couldn't find a job, what I started to do is call CEOs of associations, and I started to hold conversations with them to find out how my skills and my interests could lend themselves in their field.
Wow. Wow.
So I started making calls, and while I was making the calls, one of the directors of the association asked me to raise money. And so that was the beginning of my new business.
Wow. Wow. Impressive. Basically, you had a value that you could give out despite not having a job, right?
There was no option to give up because I was a mother. I had two children depending on me. So I had to be strong, and I just had to keep one foot going forward. But even if I didn't have children, you never have an option of retreating into a shell or staying in bed all day. You always have to keep moving forward.
Wow. 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 Interesting. So, so, just for my audience to know, what kind of business do you run? And yeah.
Well, I ran a business that did government call centers, and I sold the business, and now I'm in the process of finishing a book, and I do coaching and for business owners, and I do coaching for nonprofits, and I do speaking. So, uh, since I sold my business, I can now do the work that I love to do, which is helping people who are lost find their way.
Wow. That's amazing. So, any regrets selling your business?
No, I'm so happy I sold it. I owned the business for 20 years.
Wow.
And for 20 years, I always gave hiring priority to people who could not find work otherwise.
Hmm. Wow, that's impressive. Why done, Mary?
Thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Okay. Lastly, if someone is considering relocating right now for growth, what's one question you think they should ask themselves before taking that decision or that big step?
Um, Favor, the most important question is how well did I research the job market, the community, and the housing? Because I have to advise your listeners, do not relocate unless you do your homework first, because you could go from one bad situation to a worse situation. Because if you live in a community that you feel a part of and you have family, that's better than going someplace where you have no one. And my whole contention is: did you do your research on three key factors? The job market, how big is it? How probable is it that you'll find a job? The community, and housing. And the other thing to think about is transportation, because if you don't have a car, uh, do you have the money to pay to get to and from work?
Hmm.
So those are the four key things to look at before you even consider a move.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much for this insight. Like, I really learned a whole lot from all you have said. And yeah, you've answered some of my inner questions that has been bothering me, and it's a whole lot. And I believe my listeners has the same question bothering them about relocating, and yeah, and you just
Okay.
drew our mind to relocating for the right reasons, and yeah, we'll put that into consideration. Thank you so much for showing up on Growth Room Podcast. It's a small podcast. We're just starting out and then decide to encourage and show up for me. And I'm really grateful for that.
I'm grateful to you, Favor. Good luck. And I hope we help somebody find their way on their journey.
Yeah, thank you so much. For anyone listening, if this episode made you think differently, share it with someone who is considering a big move or career change. And as well as this is growth room where growth is intentional, not accidental. See you in my next episode.